regional cooperation or geopolitical competition? The ASEAN summit will be held in Phnom Penh, Cambodia from November the 10th to the 13th. The summit will discuss regional issues affecting at least a quarter of the world's population. US and Canadian leaders will also attend the summit. This is the first of a string of summits this month taking place in Asia, to be followed by G20 and APEC. So what's to expect? How will China-ASEAN relations develop after the 20th National Congress of the Communist Party of China? And will China join the US's race for influence in the region? I'm pleased to be joined here in the studio by Zhang Jianping, Director of the Center for Regional Economy of the Chinese Academy of International Trade and Economic Cooperation, and from Phnom Penh by Vannarith Chheang, President of the Asian Vision Institute. Gentlemen, welcome to The Point. Mr. Chheang in Cambodia, let me go to you first. Tell us what's on the agenda for this meeting this time. What are the key issues to be discussed, and how special are the meetings of ASEAN this year?
Thank you, Xin, for having me. There are many issues on the plate or on the table at this stage, but as you mentioned earlier, geopolitical competition and tension seems to overshadow, I think, the summits which take place in Phnom Penh now for the next few days. And as a chair of ASEAN this year, we try to promote cooperation and togetherness. So under the theme, advancing together, addressing challenges together, ASEAN, ASEAN try to promote internal unity and solidarity, as well as the balanced external relation, and to bring all the dialogue partners of ASEAN to come together to find solutions. So, but you know, that is our wish to see more cooperation than competition at the summits. But of course, some of the issue that cannot be avoided, such as the tensions between Russia and the US, for instance, over the war in Ukraine and other flashpoints such as Myanmar political crisis and so on. So there are many things now, but Cambodia tried to push the agenda on post-COVID recovery. So that is our priority, actually, as a chair of ASEAN, to push this inclusive, resilient and sustainable recovery from the COVID-19.
Yeah. From the Cambodian perspective, what is going to be the significance of these ASEAN meetings, or what do you want this meeting to be remembered by?
First, we do our best to show that international cooperation prevails, multilateral system prevails, so that we can work together to address international issues. Because I think since the end of the Cold War, this is a critical moment in our history that we need cooperation more than ever, international cooperation, because the global issue are becoming more complex, more consequential, and more boundary. So any issue in any place in the world will affect us all. So this is the time, this is the era for international cooperation and partnership. And this is the legacy, this is the message that Cambodia is trying to send out to the world.
Mr. Zhang, here in the studio, Chinese President Xi Jinping said in his report to the 20th National Congress of the CPC that acting on the principles of amity, sincerity, mutual benefit and inclusiveness, and the policy of forging friendships and partnerships with its neighbors, China strives to enhance friendly ties, mutual trust and converging interests with its neighboring countries. What kind of signal do you think Mr. Xi or China is sending by this statement? Is it different from the past stance? If so, how?
Yeah, I think that this speech shows that from Chinese side, China will appreciate the role of ASEAN as a very important neighbor. Right now and in the future, I think that the role played by ASEAN will be very critical in East Asia and the Asia Pacific region. Of course, between China and the ASEAN, we have long-term, cooperation foundations, including, history elements and our, infrastructure connectivities and international trade, international investment, international financing cooperation. Please attention. Right now, China has 1.4 billion population, the biggest developing country. And ASEAN country, together, they have 600 million population. Together, this is the most dynamic and emerging market in the world. Meanwhile, due to China already entered, Asian society. However, in ASEAN countries, they can still enjoy, demographic dividend right now. And
meaning the population is still very young.
Right. So this is a very, very good foundation for two parties to deepen their further cooperation in the future. I think that in the future, actually, we can develop our, systematic and comprehensive and comparative, comprehensive, relationship in the future.
Now, China has remained the largest trading partner of ASEAN for 13 consecutive years, and ASEAN has become China's largest trading partner for the second consecutive year. Quite a recent thing. And ASEAN countries account for over 15% of China's total foreign trade. So, Mr. Zhang, staying with you, what sectors are benefiting the most, and how about people's livelihood?
Yes, actually, this is a very good news. You know that actually in 2021, actually in 2001, at that time.
You mean 2001?
2001. We started to negotiate a free trade agreement with the ASEAN countries. Actually, we promoted bilateral trade rapidly from, just 40 billion US dollars after 10 years, higher than 400 billion US dollars. But last year, due to our upgrading free trade agreement and systematic cooperation under framework of the Belt and Road Initiative, the trade volume between two sides actually climbing up on the new, heights that is about higher than 870 billion US dollars last year. So this year, this trend is continuing. I think that, infrastructure connectivities, policy dialogue, and, people-to-people connectivities, including, those, trade, those investment projects in other countries, industrial park, construction in other countries. All of these elements can, play, comprehensive role for, development. Also, trade and investment, they can, promote each other. Especially this year, RCEP is, in progress. That means
we're talking about
enjoy, trade creation effects.
Yeah, as you mentioned, the first 10 months of this year, bilateral trade reached hundreds of billions of US dollars, as Mr. Zhang just mentioned, and that is an increase of 16% year on year. And just now you talk about RCEP, which is the world's largest trade deal, which is the Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership. Mr. Chheang in Phnom Penh, is the RCEP the main reason behind the jump in bilateral trade?
Yes, 10 years ago, Cambodia as a chair of ASEAN pushed forward this initiative of RCEP, Regional Comprehensive Economic Partnership, and it took 8 years to negotiate. And early this year, January, we start enforcing RCEP. This is a critical milestone of regional economic integration And this is the catalyst also for the post-pandemic socio-economic recovery. Rather than disconnect or decouple, our region choose to further integrate, further connect, and further synergize all regional initiatives. So this is the way forward. We need to further deepen our regional economic integration. We need to promote inclusive, resilient supply chains because we are so much interdependent and interconnected on each other now. So I think trade is also a foundation for regional peace and stability. The more we interdependent on each other, the less kind of conflicts that may occur because we need to find solution because this is our common interest.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, Mr. Chheang, staying with you, we know that U.S. President Joe Biden will attend the ASEAN summit, and earlier this year in May, he promised to invest $150 million on infrastructure, security, pandemic preparedness, and other fields in ASEAN. Do you feel that America is under pressure to do more in the region? And what do countries in the region feel about this issue? The potential race that the United States is trying to engage China in the region in terms of influence and sway?
The priority kind of national interest of all the member states of ASEAN is the economic interest. And economic security is national security. So not only the US, but all dialogue partners of ASEAN need to have economic initiative that can respond to the needs of the ASEAN member states. So the US need to find ways to strengthen its economic presence and engagement in this region, which is relatively in decline compared with, for instance, China, because China, in terms of economic presence and connectivity, supply chains, gain much stronger kind of steam in this region. So that the U.S. need to do something to economically compete with China. Competition is good as long as it is stable and healthy. So that is the message we keep sending to both the U.S. and China. You compete, but don't confront. Okay, you can compete, but don't confront. So,
all right. Okay. Finally, finally, a quick question to Mr. Zhang here in the studio. Some people in the West are seeing the Asia-Pacific region as a playground for great power competition. What's China's view?
Actually, from Chinese side, we welcome, the third-party cooperation with both U.S., EU, and other developed countries in ASEAN and in other developing countries, especially on the platform of the Belt and Road Initiative. So in ASEAN region, I think that if you look at the trade volume, actually, those ASEAN countries, their trade volume with Chinese side today already, larger than that with the United States. Also, economic ties with Chinese side becomes stronger and stronger. Of course, due to global supply chain cooperation, U.S. side also can play, a very important role in the region. We hope that.
But my question really is, does China see this as a race?
Oh, yes. I think that we hope that this type of race could be, sustainable and controllable. Also will benefit for regional economic cooperation instead of destroy the peace and development in the region.
Thank you very much, Mr. Zhang Jianping, Director of the Center for Regional Economy at the Chinese Academy of International Trade and Economic Cooperation, and Vannarith Chheang, President of Asian Vision Institute, joining us from Phnom Penh, Cambodia.